Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Walt Wines Happy Hour. My name is Jeff Sapelli. I'm the general manager, and I have another great, fantastic guest with us today to talk about the nuances of cheese and wine pairing. You may recall about 2 months ago, we had a very nice woman named Marissa come on. She's the author of a book called That Cheese Plate. And she started talking about ways that you can design the cheese plate so that you can throw a fun party or just a small gathering with people you know. And today we've actually have one of those creameries coming on with us, one of my favorite creameries in California. So we're very excited to do that. So stay tuned, sip up, get your bottles ready. It's going to be a fun way to just continue the 3-day weekend, so let's keep doing it. We always like to, at the beginning of our episodes, just give a lot of thanks. And there is much to be thankful for as we're following Labor Day, for the people that are working on our behalf, the people that are keeping us safe, the people that are keeping us fed, and the people that are keeping us well. So thank you to those frontline workers and first responders who are out here doing everything they can to keep us in good shape so that we can get through this and so that we can enjoy these Tuesday afternoons. Also wanted to just give a special shout out to everybody who's been fighting fires in California. Everything's going pretty well. We as best as we can hope right now. The good news is all of our tasting rooms for Walt are open, so you can visit Sonoma, Healdsburg, downtown Napa. If you'd love to visit our Hall properties in Napa, those are all open. It's blue skies, a little foggy today, about 70 degrees, but that's actually really nice after a warm weekend. So we're very excited to be doing that. And of course, if you just jumped on the bandwagon, you just missed our big summer sale. It ended yesterday, but we have a new promotion today. Those of you remember back in April when we used to have 3 bottles shipping for $1, it's back by popular demand. So please be sure to check out waltwines.com. You only need 3 bottles of wine to get that $1 shipping. Get those stocks back up, and we would love to send you the wines. We got some delicious wines to sip along with us on our happy hours. But so we were introduced to this this group of people up in far northern California. Not a lot of people head up there, but they're one of the best cheeses that are made in, I think, the country. We became good friends. They started sending us cheese. We started sending us wine, and I can tell you what our marketing department looks like. When I'm walking downstairs at the winery, it's basically all of this Cypress Grove cheese, and you just sit there and you taste it. And so today we are the marketing director from Cypress Grove, all the way up in Arcata, joining us for our Walt Wines Instagram. Hey, there you are.
Hi, Jeff.
How's it going?
Good.
I feel like we're pretty close together. Like we could have just done this in a socially distant manner.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, but then I'd have to drive home. So I'll just do this from home. How's that sound?
That sounds all right.
How's everything?
So far, so good here today. Hearing about your
Okay.
weather, we've had a fairly okay day too, but we are finally starting to see, I think, a little remnants of the fires themselves too.
Okay.
So it's a little hazy outside here, but typically we're coastal, so usually we have quite a nice day or weather. Yeah.
Well, a little hazy in Humboldt County is pretty normal. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's always a fun thing. Hey, I wanted to pour you a glass of wine, if that's okay. I brought 3 bottles today to pair with your cheeses, which we're very familiar with. Thank you so much for sending them. This is our 2017 Bob's Ranch Chardonnay. This is our flagship wine. And I'm going to go ahead and just pass this up the coast to you. And I think, there you go.
And I'm able now to pour myself a glass.
There you go. Well, cheers.
Cheers, Jeff.
Thank you so much for coming and for sending me all of this cheese. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of it.
I think you need to eat it.
That's a good call. That's a really good call. Well, hopefully we sent you enough wine to make up for our share.
You did. Thank you. My team is thoroughly enjoying it as we speak.
So how is the team doing? What are you guys up to, and how's the creamery?
So creamery is good. We're still very eager, making quite a bit of cheese. Obviously, we have suffered from the COVID pandemic a bit, food service in particular. People know, not a lot of places have been open. However, we are seeing that slowly improving, which we're happy to see. We are still, if I think you're aware, but maybe not, that we also do have a dairy So we have about 1,400 goats we've been managing during this pandemic and time that we're quite proud of. So those are still happy as can be and producing quite a bit of milk for us. And so cheese production hasn't stopped. And now we're just trying to continue to find more ways to get it out there for those that want it. Yeah.
Well,
Thanks
I'd
for
love to jump
asking.
into the first cheese with you then.
Okay.
I love pairing Chardonnay with cheese. And so you were good enough to send me a whole bunch. This is a very small amount, which I tried to lay out as pretty as I can, Marissa. There you go. And the first one you wanted to pair was Humboldt Fog, which I'll bring it closer. You've got it on your screen too, but it's
Correct.
this cheese right here. Is that correct?
It is that cheese right there.
Okay. So this is by far, this was when I was in restaurants and when I was in the service industry 20 years ago, I think, this was just getting started and it exploded. It was like the cheese everyone had to have. What's the deal with Humboldt Fog and why does it taste so good?
So Humboldt Fog truly is our flagship cheese. It came to our founder. Our founder is considered truly one of the pioneers in the American artisan cheese movement. And in particular, a cheese like this was not very common that you would have found in the States at the time. Back when she was developing this cheese, Americans, to be honest, we were enjoying a few French cheeses here and there, but we were really still in the Velveeta and craft phase of things, right? And so she was quite one of the initial founders of really trying to produce a cheese that was of strong quality, had the artisan feel. And this cheese in particular came to her somewhat in a dream, as we say. Mary, a little history in her is she didn't just start out with the idea of making cheese. She actually started out as just needing to source milk for her. She was a single mother of 4.
Oh, wow.
That transitioned into her becoming a champion goat breeder, taking just general breeds. But then, of course, she was somebody who was a back to the lander who didn't want to waste anything, and so started producing cheese. As the business grew, she eventually went to France to learn a bit more about cheese making skills. And on the way home, the story is, on the way home, Mary had a dream that she envisioned a cheese that would represent Humboldt County in a way, which was a layer of goat cheese with a fine layer of vegetable ash down the middle, and then another layer of goat cheese that resembled somewhat the landscape of Humboldt County. So we're really proud of this cheese. It's a soft ripened goat cheese that ages from the outside in, and we find it quite nice.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love this cheese. So I just thought it's rare to find a dairy that produces so much goat milk, and that you've really honed in on goat milk as how you're going to make all of your cheeses. What are the differences between goat's milk and cow's milk, other kinds of milk? There's lots of milks, but primarily I think between cow's milk and goat's milk.
Well, one, I would first start out with volume, right?
Okay.
How much a goat can produce in regards to how much of a cow can produce.
Right.
So a cow who can average 10 gallons potentially a day, a typical goat can produce about a half a gallon. Ours tend to be closer to the gallon mark. So first off is just in general, the production of the milk in general. Also, goat milk does tend to have more of a mild flavor to it compared to goat, which tends to still be a lot, what might say it's a bit more gamey. However, we find it quite clean and nice. But also for many, goat cheese sometimes can be something that's easier to digest for most. It digests a little bit slower. So those are probably some of the key differentiating factors between goat and cow. But then that also sometimes when you approach goat cheeses, you'll find them a little bit more in smaller formats. And they do tend to sometimes, as most of us know in this industry, be a little bit more on the price side, that it's a little bit more costly, just again, due to production.
Yeah, I know a lot about that. The way that we farm our vineyards is for quality. And so that means if I can normally get 8 tons to the acre out of a Chardonnay, in order to make it really good, like our 2017 Bob's Ranch, I'm going to be focused more in the 3.5 to 4 tons to the acre.
Yeah.
And that volume brings a lot of quality because you're really just focused on what's great. And so quick question on that, and I'd love to try these cheeses.
I was going to say, we got to try the cheese.
If I'm allergic to cow's milk, can I eat goat's milk cheeses?
If you are allergic to cows, we always say, ask your doctor. That's the politically correct thing to say, yes. But oftentimes you will find many people do come to us and say they cannot absorb cow milk, but can easily absorb goat. So I would not say, yes, it's universal. If you're allergic to cow, you're going to be allergic to goat. Oftentimes it's quite the opposite. So we can be the alternative. Yeah.
All right. Well, I do want to eat this cheese, just like you said. So the first one we're going to try is the Humboldt Fog.
You got
and this is available. You can find this just about everywhere.
Yeah, we are. Humboldt Fog is the cheese you would find mostly distributed nationwide. We are all major specialty retailers. Humboldt Fog, for example, is at any Whole Foods you walk into as a stable. But then in your area, you've got a lot of the specialty grocers such as Oliver's, Oakville Grocer, a lot of those type of places as well. Yeah.
Wow. Those are very fancy. I only let my wife shop there because I get in too much trouble.
Yeah.
Best way to purely pair cheese, is it just to eat it, or should I put it on a cracker?
No, first you always want to try and eat it. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. That's the beauty of this. It's just playful in your mouth. So you can try the wine first, then try the cheese. But then I also recommend you try the cheese and then you try the wine. And then if you really want to try it on a cracker, go for it.
That's really good.
The beauty of the whole thing. And the beautiful thing we find with Humboldt Fog is that it is quite fresh. You feel it's creamy. You sense that taste of buttermilk. And the beautiful thing about these cheeses too is you'll notice, like right now, if those of you can see it, it's quite fresh. So you notice it still has quite a bit of the paste. But then the more you let it sit out, or the more you let it age, the creamier the wine gets, and that provides just an entirely different flavor.
Yeah,
and our rind is edible too.
With the cheese coming, so I won't spoil it. But when I tried the cheese, it brought out this honeysuckle flavor right away. That was like and I have no honey on my cheese. I'm not cheating. But as soon as the wine met the cheese, the flavor changed dramatically.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of cheese and wine. There's so many flavors that pop in your mouth that you can play with. Yeah.
Apricot, lemon, and then it's honey, which is really cool, I think. That is very fun. And the thing about wine is, and I've always tried to explain this to people at wine dinners, wine only can make food taste better. You can't actually affect the flavor of wine with food. Wine is wine. But you'll find nuances of different flavors that are within the food that you're eating using wine. So that's why we do those pairings. It's also why you eat first, then drink. It doesn't just wash it down. It does actually affect the flavor of the wine. So what did you think?
I think it's delicious together. I'm a huge fan, though, of your Bob Chardonnay. So we think, and in fact, really truthfully, our Humboldt Fog tends to be better with the lighter wines and the whites. Oftentimes, goat cheese does have a hard time standing up to bold reds. But what we found is that if you can really find a harder aged cheese, or more of an aged goat cheese, which we're going to taste here in a little bit more, those do stand a bit more up to the red wines. But today, for this pairing, Humboldt Fog was the perfect pairing for the Chardonnay. Tastes delicious.
Green. I'm just going to have to stop drinking Chardonnay now, or I might fall asleep by the time we're done with the interview.
So that means we're switching.
Cheers. Yes. So we're going to switch to another wine. That is half my job, from what the winery team tells me, is I'm supposed to keep the show on pace. So I will try to move us along. So the next wine we have, and I almost just messed this up, no, I didn't. I got it right.
No, you didn't. I was going to say, I think you have the right one.
You know the show better than I do. It's my wine. So this is our 2018 Sierra Mar. So this is a wine from the Santa Lucia Highlands. It's owned by Gary Francione, and I'm going to pass it to you. Same way we did it before, because the internet found it. Pulled it right in. Look at that, Arcata. So I'll show you a quick picture of what this vineyard looks like. This is actually the Sierra Mar vineyard in the background. So this is from the top of the hill. It's in Monterey County, all the way inland. So the way that you access the vineyard is by just driving south from San Jose through the Salinas Valley, and the hillside shows up on the right side. So what we're looking at right now is actually, we're looking almost due south, and the vineyard is laying out on the ridge line ahead of us. It makes a wine, because it's further south, it tends to make a wine that has a more concentration, more flavor. It tends to have a nice bright acidity to it that kind of punches through the big flavors of the wine, but it also has this rustic, Pinot funky kind of a finish. For me, one of my favorite wines tends to be a little bit more tannic than some of our Pinots, especially the next Pinot that we'll have. And I like that. And I think that paired really well with this next cheese, which I think I should let you talk about since you're the expert.
Yes. So the next cheese we're about ready to take is our second most popular cheese, which is our Midnight Moon. This is our aged goat milk Gouda style cheese. Fun little story of this, as you know. Yep, right here, Midnight Moon. Mary, our founder, we were producing domestic cheeses, and Mary, as I mentioned, was really interested in producing cheeses for America that we might not have had before. And we were, she met a Gouda producer from the Netherlands at one of the fancy food shows she first went to. And because Mary was so passionate about like goat husbandry and really doing the best for the goats, she was quite enamored by the gentleman and went to visit him to see his farm. And then after she worked with him and like saw all that he was doing, she was so impressed that she decided to explore a collaboration with him to develop this Midnight Moon cheese. And the reason why we do, sometimes people ask why we're not producing it here, is we sort of went to the reputable source. People in the Netherlands have been making Goudas for years. They have all of the in-house capabilities, so we have a special recipe, and this is our Midnight Moon. You're going to find it pairs perfectly, I think, with this one. It's nutty, it's buttery, it's got somewhat of a caramel finish, and this is one of those cheeses that I would say definitely holds up to the reds.
Yes.
So, quite delicious.
Aged. How long do you age this cheese for?
Our Midnight Moon is aged a minimum of 6 months, but sometimes you might find it in stores where then it's been already up to 9 months. So, yeah, at least 6 months.
Not that it's gonna last long in my fridge. How long can I hold this cheese for? As I'm asking you questions while you're drinking and eating.
The shelf life that we say is 180 days. So you got about 6 months on that is what we would say. However, we have met raving fans who have also purchased wheels, put it aside, and have told us like aging wine. They've aged it another 2 years in their fridge and it's great. Yeah. Can I say that with confidence from a food safety perspective? I think my quality team would have my head, but that's okay. Yes, you can keep it for quite a while. Yeah.
The quality team's they're all sequestered right now at the creamery, right? So, it's like the winery.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. And there's a huge amount of fans on this, by the way. Hi, Casey McAdams. She's like this to this cheese. So
great.
That is actually a spectacular cheese. So the first thing that hit me was that the texture of this cheese it has a little bit, it falls apart in your mouth. It's not soft and creamy across the palate. I like it because it kind of, as it starts to fall apart, it almost disintegrates. And then the wine comes in, and that's where you start to see start to work together. Maybe I'm over explaining it, but I really enjoyed the older textural actually part of this cheese.
Yeah. And I would say a suggestion to this cheese in particular is if you actually bring it more to temperate temperature at about an hour out, it tends to shine and even like exude much more of those flavors if you just give it a little bit more time out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned that from my time in the restaurant business. So I did that already. I actually had these cheeses out around 1:30 in the afternoon. We got together at 3 o'clock. So I'm a little longer, but it really starts to come together, and it doesn't, as long as it's not sweating, for me, that's really where you're starting to get the big flavors. And so I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So we have some questions that are coming in. The first question is, what is your favorite cheese and your favorite wine for each season? So I guess that's for both of us.
Okay. My favorite cheese for Cypress Grove, I would say, is Humboldt Fog, by far. I will also enjoy this with red wine. I can enjoy it with beer. I can enjoy it with white wines, most things. And I also, it's just near and dear. I just love the flavors all around. I'm also a huge fan of Midnight Moon. I enjoy that oftentimes with my red. So it's very rare I'll have Midnight Moon with whites. I also think Midnight Moon, maybe I shouldn't say this, but it goes great with crafted beer as well. IPAs and stouts are also quite good. And then if you want to know a little further beyond Cypress Grove, I really can never pass up on a really good cloth bound light cheddar. So now that's outside of the Cypress Grove range, but the cloth bound cheddar is also quite good to round it up.
I always have to throw my cheese outside Cypress Grove is going to be Västerbotten from Sweden. My wife is Swedish, and it's the richness, the fattiness, the high salt content in that cheese. But for your cheeses, and it's the next cheese, so I'm not just doing this to shine you up, but the truffle, Tremor, I think.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Like it was just, oh my gosh.
You know, you find, Jeff, it's either people will really love it, and those that love it, it's like, I love this cheese. And then there are those that just are indifferent to truffle. So what I will always say is if you're a fan of truffle, you will most likely adore this cheese. But if you really don't care for truffles, this might not be the cheese for you. But this one, I bet you really do love, because it is the best and pairs outstanding with reds. Like,
excellent. So before we get into that, though, you sent me a whole, like, the gadgets, like a cheese gadgetry that came along with this wonderful cheese board, by the way, from Cypress Grove that you can see. Oop, almost lost it. So there are a host of different tools that come with this. So making wine requires a lot of different tools. Opening wine requires, one tool, and then the industry realized that everyone loves opening wine, so they made billions of dollars off of wine openers. But we have all kinds of different things. Out of the box, I'm hosting a small group of party. It's COVID. There's maybe 6 of us. We're all sitting 10 feet apart. What do I need to properly host a group of people for a nice cheese board?
Interest, appetite, good attitude. We can start with this. No, that's the beauty of playing with cheese and wine such as this is, we've sent you a nice collection of the board. So of course, a board is always a great way to start. But what we also say is there's really no rhyme or reason. People now, you can take it even and play with it where you could do it on a baking sheet. People enjoy it on different plates. But to your question exactly about now and during COVID times, what we've been encouraging people to do oftentimes is just similar to what I did, which is you put your cheese spread out, you chunk it up, and then you just put sort of the ability for people to come and graze. During this time, I know sometimes people are concerned about the grazing, so toothpicks work out really well. You had mentioned to me earlier.
At parties these days.
Right. But the beautiful thing about having like a cheese display in general is it oftentimes invokes a lot of creativity in your conversations because there's no wrong pairing. It really is to the eye of the beholder who's eating it. And it oftentimes creates a lot more inspiring conversation like, hey, what do you think about this with this? As well as I think it does bring people together. We often say that internally, but the truth of the matter is cheese really does bring people together. And everyone a good wine.
Cheese. I mean, I had a couple people over, my mom and dad and my sister, and I called them because you sent me all this cheese, and I was like, all right, guys, we have to put all this wine out, and we got to make a decision. And that's how we got into these pairings was, they all came to me obviously and asked me, but we just sat around and ate a bunch of cheese, which is a great dinner. And by the way, Somm nights, you're asking about the Chardonnay. We're pairing the Chardonnay, Bob Chardonnay, with Humboldt Fog. So you want to try that as that would be our highest recommendation today. Good tools, always important for any party. Making sure that everyone's safe, really important now for any party.
If you want to have one good cheese tool in your arsenal though, and you are looking at any soft cheese, I would highly recommend the investment in a cheese wire. Because for example, truffle tremor, the Humboldt Fog, to really truly have a beautiful slice, if you're going to be slicing it up, that cheese wire really can do the trick. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And you'll see from my board that it's a little bit off. So the next cheese is that This is the truffle tremor. It will cause an earthquake in your house when you try it. And I'd love to pour you our third wine, if that's all right.
You got it.
If you're ready to reach through the internet,
That
is not the right bottle. So the final wine is actually from a wine is actually near your neck of the woods. I wouldn't call it next door, but this is our Corners vineyard. So this is the 2017 Walt Corners. This is a vineyard up in Anderson Valley, which is north of the Sonoma coast. I've got a little cheese on my finger. I'm going to pass it over.
And I'm going to pour it over.
Good
Yeah.
catch. I came in hot. So just to talk a little bit about the wine, or about this vineyard. So this, that was Sierra Mar. So this is the Corners, and it comes from this place. This is the Anderson Valley. So as you go north in California, for those of you who haven't had a chance to visit our northern friends, once you pass the town of Sonoma and Healdsburg, you're getting into a very remote part of California. There's a lot of trees. It's very coniferous. It also, the population drops, and you're going to start just going through some of the most beautiful redwoods and coastal highways that you can ever find in the world. And Humboldt Fog, or the Cypress Grove Creamery, is actually at the northern side. You guys are almost at the border, right?
Yeah, we're about an hour and 15 minutes from Oregon. Yeah.
So if you drop down about 2 hours, you're in Mendocino, and then even further, you're in the Anderson Valley. So this is an area that's off, our vineyard's off a very steep hillside. We're looking down about 500, 600 feet from the very top of the vineyard. This is the block, and it's wintertime, so forgive that there's no foliage on the vines. But it makes a beautiful wine that has a very plush palate and a lot of blue-red flavors, as opposed to, I think, those more kind of cranberry flavors that we had in the Sierra Mar. And what I always love about Corners and wines from the Anderson Valley is their flavors are so pristine and so clean, but they have this very nuanced, delicate flavor. And so from the hillside, we're going to find a little bit more concentration. But I think that in general, when I think about the Anderson Valley, I'm thinking about wines that have that more delicate flavor. I don't know what you think about that. I'm interested in your take.
I was waiting to taste, so now I will.
Oh, you're supposed to drink while I talk.
You should have told me this when we were prepping, Jeff.
I eat while you talk. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
It's delicious, actually. It's outstanding. So now we're going to try our truffle tremor with it. So this is very similar. It comes in the same flavor category as a soft ripened aged goat cheese. However, these are made with savory black Italian summer truffles. No oils, no extracts. These are straight truffles. So we were one of the originals to produce the truffle tremor cheese, and hence we feel it goes outstanding with this red.
That's awesome. I really love that. Not a lot of truffle flavor. This was something that we talked a lot about, was oftentimes, especially with our Bob's Ranch and some of the wines from the Santa Rita Hills, you'll find a hidden truffle flavor in the wine. And that's from the soil, it's from the area. And so we were trying to avoid that. And that's why I really enjoyed the Corners, because it allowed the cheese to take over, for starters. It wasn't overpowering. It was complementing with more of those bright red fruits, blue fruits, a little bit of tannin. I'll tell you about that in a second. But it really allowed that truffle to kind of mellow right in. And it was just delicious for me. That was beautiful, beautiful.
So did you try a bite with the rind? I'm curious what you think if you eat the rind with it. Okay.
I did.
And do you feel it changes when you have the middle, just the paste?
Oh, definitely.
With this wine?
I think from the middle is like, that's the sweet stuff. That's where all the goodness is. But you get into the rind and you really get more of that earthy consistent flavor. And I like that, especially with Corners, because Corners is so kind of fruit and kind of perfect in the Pinot that way. So you're bringing extra things to the wine, which I really enjoyed. I don't know what you thought of that, but what is the influence of rind and cheese, and when you're building the cheese?
When I'm building,
it gets wrapped in a cloth, right?
No. So our cheeses are not wrapped. So we develop our cheese with the flavor of the cheese and the paste, but then we also use cultures that help establish the rind that grows from the outside.
Got it.
So we use two different cultures. One is Geo and another one is Penicillium, Michael, Penicillium.
Phone a friend.
This is always the one I get stuck on with pronunciation. Penicillium candidum. So it's a combination of the two, but
Uh-huh.
basically it starts aging once it's in the production facility. So when we start
Okay.
it, if anyone is interested, you can go to our website and it's The Secret Life of Cheese. We have this whole page and it shows
Ah.
how initially we start it, which is that we spray the ash on the outside that already has the cultures. So it
Uh-huh.
ages from the outside in. And so by the
Okay.
time it reaches about 12 days, you will start seeing all of the mold has been grown from the outside. So Jeff, it's alive. So that's why our cheese is quite perishable
Fine.
for these, right? So it's
Yeah.
alive, it's living, and it's breathing. So when you are still having it in your refrigerator, it's still growing that same
Yeah.
mold and still developing.
Or it's not, for those who feel weirded out by that. That's not what's happening.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, it's a really lovely cheese. It has a ton of flavor. It's a wine that's not wimpy, or it's a cheese that's not wimpy, like a wine that's not wimpy. It's there and it's ready for you. And I thought it was really, really impressive. Okay, so a couple other questions, and I'm gonna just turn off the comments so we can see your full face. So biggest celebrity that's ever talked about Cypress Grove?
Ooh. We have lots of celebrities talking about Cypress Grove. Oh, biggest celebrity. Depends on who you think's big. We've been on Oprah's Favorite Things a couple of times.
Oh my God, really?
Christy Teigen, I know, is a fan of our cheese.
Uh-huh.
We just sent cheese to Padma.
Yeah, at Top
Yes,
Chef.
from Top Chef. Who
Hmm.
else? I'm looking at my colleague across the room. Who am I, Michael, now? I'm trying to think.
Well, I'll just say that when I land in restaurants, when our Walt wines land in restaurants, and I get to go and meet the somm or the wine buyer there, and I find your cheeses all the time, and these are really expensive high end restaurants that I'm proud to be in
Yeah.
as a general manager for a winery. So I mean, it's you guys are. I should just look at your distribution list and then I can chase it around and put my wines in those places.
I'm sure you can. But I will go take that a step further. Is we actually, Jeff, like we believe in our cheese is so strong that really we're just happy for anybody to consume the cheese. So you consuming our cheese is just as famous as
Oh,
Oprah consuming our cheese. So it truly is baked into our brand is we do
uh-huh.
want to be known as that approachable cheese brand to people
Yeah.
that like we make amazing cheeses, but we're not pretentious, right? Like
No,
we can play in all
you're
arenas.
hella cool Northern
We
California
are.
cheese, right? Like,
So we can be at the finest tables and also
and my
bottom of the
table.
barrel at on the riverbed. So that's where we want to
Exactly.
be found. Yeah, all over.
Well, I wanted to see if you had, we've been through the show about half hour. I want to see if you had anything you wanted to say to our listeners. We've had a very consistent group of people checking us out today.
Yeah.
What's going on in the world of Humboldt County and Cypress Grove.
No, I mean, one, thanks for the opportunity. I mean, we love this partnership. We've been working
Yes.
with you guys now for quite a few years. We think it's a great collaboration. Like you as a brand, we are very appreciative of those that purchase our products and really, help promote us. We really believe in a strong sense of quality. Our founder started with her father told her that there was always enough mediocrity in the world. So if she was really going to do something, don't just be mediocre, like really do it a bit farther. And that's something I think is just baked in. And it's baked in with us in general with how we make our cheese, how we approach things, how we approach most things. So we're just really happy to have this partnership. We're happy to share the love of cheese and wine with people. We hope really that during this like stressful time in
Yeah.
life, that these two products are helping make people's days a little better, maybe makes the conversations at night a little lighter, makes breakups and makeups that much easier. Who knows, But during this time,
Absolutely.
we're really grateful for
Yeah,
this
if you have to sit
opportunity.
at home and you need to have some fun, you can come on Instagram and hang out with us, and we can eat some
We
great
can eat
cheese,
cheese and wine.
and we can put it together with some great wine. So, no,
Love
thank
it.
you so much, Christy. So this is Christy. Thank you so much for joining us from Cypress Grove.
Thanks, Jeff.
Uh, the
Thanks to all your
Humboldt Fog
fans too.
cheese,
Yeah.
amazing. You can find them online. You can find them in all your favorite stores, including Whole Foods. Thank you so much for doing that. For all the Walt Wines fans that are on with us right now, thanks for hanging out with us. We're open. We'd love to see you. Please check out we're down to 3 bottles now to get dollar shipping. So that's a special throughout the month of September. You can buy 3 bottles of wine that we just had. You can buy 3 cheeses from Cypress Grove Creamery, and you can do this show. So thank you, Christy.
You're
Cheers
welcome.
to you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'm gonna grab my red
Cheers
glass.
to you. Yeah,
Thanks
cheers
so
to
much.
everyone. Thanks.
I'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.